There's fire on the mountain. Run, 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 run. The drama today is just unbelievable. Stunning, in fact. So there's a particular story on Sahara Reporters. Of course, you know Sahara Reporters is owned by Sowore. That particular story was like telling the world that Peter Obi did not go to Pope's inauguration. Apparently, Peter Obi went up to the Papa's ground in order to beg Tinubu over the 225 billion naira debt that his bank actually is having. That's Fidelity Bank. There's this widespread, rumors that Fidelity Bank belongs to Peter Obi, and recently there's a story that's online stating that Fidelity Bank is in distress and is in huge debt. But CBN came and recanted that. So that rumor, of course, Sahara Reporters would always post stories that are false, fraudulent. In fact, there are so many, falsehoods that Sahara Reporters post, and sometimes because of the owner, which is Sowore, he tends to use that platform to go against his political enemies, political friends, just basically do things that are false, basically, So the story came out yesterday. It was flashy, breaking, that Peter Obi went to Rome just to beg Tinubu over the bank's, over the bank's issues. So Obi came out this morning smoking with his thoughts. Let me read what Obi said. It's obvious that the biggest business for blackmailers now is talking about Peter Obi from every negative perspective. Even my solemn spiritual trip to Rome has been twisted into yet another blackmail campaign by merchants paid ostensibly to propagate anything negative against Obi. One such individual, whose entire life revolves around blackmail, falsely claimed that I went to Rome to have a private meeting with President Bola Tinubu regarding the purported 225 billion naira debt crisis involving Fidelity Bank. These claims are not only baseless, malicious, but entirely false. Let me categorically state that I have never sought an audience with nor met President Tinubu since he assumed office, except about 1 minute meeting at the arena of St. Peter's Basilica, Rome, during the inauguration mass of Pope Leo XIV, where I was seated behind and he had to respectfully greet him and some dignitaries. I was previously in Rome on the 9th of May for the lying in state of Pope Francis. Immediately after the mass and exchanging pleasantries, I went straight from Vatican City to London and then back to Nigeria. The self-acclaimed Blackmailer-in-Chief and others who thrive on spreading pain and falsehoods have also claimed that I own Fidelity Bank. For the record, I do not. Throughout my career, I have served as chairman, director of 3 banks as financial institutions, of which Fidelity is one of them. Fidelity has over 500,000 shareholders, none of whom hold a majority stake. What this blackmailer seeks is to harm these hard-working Nigerians and cause them needless distress. To those peddling these falsehoods and engaging in blackmail, I offer a simple prayer. May God grant you the virtues of gratitude and understanding to know that we came here with nothing and we will go with nothing, that they cannot profit from their evil ways. A new Nigeria is possible. That's the reply from Peter Obi. Apparently, Sowore came out smoking again. So Sowore fired back again and says, I heard the money launderer-in-chief at Pandora Papers and package fraud was fabricated or has fabricated another story this morning about the reason his other brother bounced him during his ill-fated visits to Rome. May Nigeria overcome the bad Jews. And Comrade Deji Adeyanju reacted and said, Sowore, get bad mouth, Shah, called him money launderer-in-chief and still said Tinubu is his other brother. no good. Blackmailer-in-Chief. Anyways, so it's an interesting discourse again, because again, these things, it's good for optics. It's good for optics. It's good for, banter, throwing banter here and there, basically. But disparaging someone in that manner is not really the nicest thing to do. Sowore is angry with Peter Obi, and it's not because of the person Peter Obi, but Sowore is seeing himself like Peter Obi stole his position from him. He wishes he's in the stead of Peter Obi. Sowore is so jealous of Peter Obi that, look, like it or leave it, in his head, he feels that Peter Obi stole what belongs to him, that the popularity Peter Obi has, the followership from the youth that Peter Obi has, it should have been him. Given that he has been doing street things, he has always done school, university, rhetorics, all those things that they used to do in university. So because of his demeanor, because of his character and behavior, so he feels that Peter Obi took that thing from him, that huge followership that he has, that 6 billion votes that Peter Obi has in 2023, all of those things. His mind always tells him, whenever he sees Peter Obi, what his mind tells him is, this guy stole something from me. I would have been in this guy's position. All things would have been equal. It would have been different. Imagine me having 6 billion votes in an election. I would have been. So that is exactly what Sowore is angry about Peter Obi. So there's nothing special. All these things are just aesthetics. But Sowore hates Peter Obi because he feels Peter Obi took away something from him, which is that popularity that gave him the numbers in the elections. And so anything that he can do to bring down Peter Obi, to make Peter Obi look bad so that he would look good, look, Sowore would do it. And that's exactly what he's doing, using his platform. And if you watch, nobody actually had that story on their platform except Sahara Reporters. And that's the reason why sometimes you also have to be careful the kind of stories that you consume. It's not everything that you saw online that is true. And Sahara Reporters, because of the fact that they've been there for a long time, you would think that they will be careful with the kinds of things that they post. So on what basis would you say that Peter Obi owns Fidelity Bank? On what basis would you be saying that he went to Rome to beg Tinubu over 25 billion naira debt of Fidelity? Like those concocted rubbish that was written about Peter Obi on that platform. So and something about Sowore that I also wanted to say. Sowore is not the kind of person that should be giving any position. Not a governor, not a personal assistant, not a president. He has tried to become president for some time now, and the Nigerian people have actually rejected him because he's not the kind of person that would fit the Nigerian system. He is actually exactly what Tinubu is. Sowore is not different from Tinubu. Be on the opposition because you have not been invited to the table. You make noise. As soon as you are on the table, you stop talking. That's exactly what he is. There's no two ways about it. Go and check. The other day we were screaming that Bola Tinubu would do well. He's someone who has been in opposition for a long time, and all the things that he has stated about opposition, about government, he's going to come there now and change things. But look at where we are. He abhors criticism. Tinubu abhors criticism, and that is what Sowore is. Sowore hates anybody who criticizes him. He doesn't like criticism. So you will never trust somebody, a power on somebody who you cannot criticize. In fact, if Sowore comes to power, if by mistake, because of course it's just a jester, if Sowore mistakenly become president of Nigeria, you are rest assured that he's going to shut down social media, because he cannot take a quarter of what he dishes out. That's the kind of person Sowore is. From his demeanor, from his character, from his behavior, from everything that he has done right from the days of Nadeko, you will know that he hates criticism. He doesn't like people criticism. And like, how can you be a government person? How can you be a president and abhor critics? So he's not the kind of person that should be trusted with power. So whatever he is, he thinks he is, well, it stops at just his head. It ends there. Being in opposition and crying and screaming and moving from one place to another, just that kind of nuisance. He's needed once in a while. Let him just stir up the honest nets. That's where he's fit. But giving him power, it's going to be a no-no. All right, guys. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Cheers now.